Spiritual practice does not stop when your mundane life calls you to action. Your practice should inform not only what you do, but also how you do it, or, more precisely, the place within yourself from which you do it. As you go deeper within yourself and let go of your wrong understanding, your outward words and actions will be truer expressions of who you really are. Appropriate action, then, is action from a place of non-attachment, which means, among other things, not being attached to the outcomes. This brings us to Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. Its essence is selfless service, giving up the fruits of our actions to God. When we rest in the heart, all our actions arise from God, and the lower self, with all its ambitions and ideals, is removed from the process. Rather than engage in behavior modification, which only deals with our outward surface, we need to go to our source to have our actions be real. Unless we are fully realized, any action, no matter how good it may seem, is clouded by personal perception. Good works done from the wrong place are not wholly good. If you volunteer at a soup kitchen so you can think of yourself as a good person, then you are prideful, regardless of how good the action looks. If, on the other hand, you volunteer at a soup kitchen because it is a fitting action and you remain non-attached to praise, blame, or results, then you are practicing Karma Yoga. You must acquire the ability to be appropriate at all times, which can only occur when you are in harmony with the universe. This harmony is what the Taoist sages meant by the term wu wei, not a passive go-with-the-flow carelessness, but a total surrender to the self, so that our every action is an undistorted expression of reality. And because reality is love, everything done from the self is an expression of love. Absolute love is pure bliss. The acceptance of everything is perfect just the way it is. It includes everyone and everything at all times. Even in our ignorance, it trickles down and manifests itself in small amounts in our lives. But the lower self, with its shrunken understanding, limits love, only looking to make things better for itself. When we are no longer veiled, real love will inform all that we do. Compassion is love with detachment, and such love doesn't always conform to the lower self's idea of love. Rebuking someone, for instance, is often seen as unloving and uncaring. When a person who is resting in his true nature of love speaks sternly, his words will be compassionate and appropriate, whether the recipient recognizes it or not. Because he is love by nature, all he does is motivated by love. I once heard that Baba yelled at a young woman in the ashram in India, telling her to get out of the ashram by the next night. The following evening, she was still there. When people asked her why she hadn't left, she replied that Baba had been yelling at her ego, and it had left. She understood what lay behind his words. Baba listened so deeply within himself that he could hear what was best for that young woman. Only by going deep within yourself can you truly empathize with someone else. Superficial commonalities and nice ideas about oneness only connect lower selves with other lower selves. In this respect, we function like wells. If we live at the surface of the well, we are each an individual, living a distinct life with our own interests, wants, and needs, separate from everyone else. If we begin the process of going down into the well, we may appear alone and even more separate, maybe even self-centered for a while. However, when we go far enough down the well, we reach the groundwater, the true self, which is everyone. In this place, I is everyone. We are no longer separate from others. There is no possibility of selfishness. We feel what others feel without the lower self inserting itself into the situation. So practicing selfless service is loving your neighbor as the self, because you are your neighbor. This does not mean that what is good for you as an individual is good for your neighbor. It means that you will listen deeply and discern what is appropriate. What connects us is the groundwater. Once you have established yourself in the groundwater, service to all becomes a way of life. Selfless from the head is always selfish. Selfish from the heart is truly selfless.